Welcome, welcome. The most prompt person in the room is going to start her service on time. Because I am clearly here every Sunday at 11:30. I'll give everybody a minute to sit down. I'm so happy to see all of your faces this morning, and new and old faces alike. As you are welcome here. Visitor, friend, or longtime member, you are welcome here, with little children or your partner or alone. We joyfully welcome you here. You are welcome as believer or doubter, as joiner or loner. You are welcome here. Feeling a part of us or not, full of energy or not, seeking a vision or a rest, you are welcome here to join us as you are. We acknowledge that we are in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish, New Pierce, Blackfeet, and Anishinaabe people who shared the Helena Valley as the hunting grounds. The indigenous story of Helena Valley began long before the arrival of Europeans. We honor those who walked here before us. We honor the path that they have shown us in caring for this place for generations to come. We strive for justice and fair relations with their descendants. And I think Sam or Kinston they're gonna come light the chalice. Thank you, Sam. We can read this all together now. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation. As we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. I just remembered that I didn't introduce myself, other than just introducing myself as being a late person. I'm Britany Hoover, and I've been attending Big Sky UU for 6 years now. So we're now going to turn to Open Our Hearts on page 8 and sing In the Winter. Judy and Mackenzie and Cheryl are going to lead us in that song. Yes, stand as you're willing and able.
the ground's froze. Way down deep, there's a message in the darkness. Life is a promise that the earth will keep. I can hear her calling to me. I can hear her calling. You can be free. You can be free. You can be free. In the winter, when the snow falls and the rain falls, when the wild goose calls, there's a message in the darkness. You can be free. Life is a promise. You can be free. That the earth will keep. I can hear her calling to me. I can hear her calling. You can be free. You can be free.
Entire limbs of a tree turn ash, while shoots of crimson and burnt orange, notched with ripe bud, rally to touch the sun. The body lets life go and defies death in the same spring. Though parts of us become brittle, we are not all broken. We too are simultaneously letting go and fiercely reaching, veined with gold, toward the light. Can you hear a string being plucked somewhere inside, longing to make a song of you? Can you hear anywhere inside a faint voice that wants to stand up from the rubble? Is there a place in you that's moving against the tide of this story? Can you hear inside a sound that is wanting to be made into a song? We have been built from the milk of our mothers and the bent backs of our fathers. We have inherited a pattern, a rhythm of sound, and yet some part of us wants to live as if it were not besieged. Some part of our lives outside of the box of this rhythm, this pattern, and plays a drum inside our own hearts. Whatever courage you can muster to move into this different sound, I urge you to find it. Look to step up on the other road, for the one we are all on is paved with sad things that do not suit what we know inside. Whatever longing or yearning we feel to return to the soft earth of our hearts is the true path. So now, here we are on the breath we are given in the space we are together. We have had the opportunity to grow in wisdom by moving ever so gently to another song, one yet to be written, but being sung in some far-off room inside of us. And that's written by Sarah Blondin. I would like to have a time for joys and concerns. If anyone wants to share anything with us today or say hello, we will have a time after the YouTube video has closed for any private joys and concerns. Hi, Sarah.
Thanks. I just have a concern about my dog, Bernie. She's not doing very well. So she's almost, almost 15, but I don't know if she'll quite make it that far, but thanks.
Sorry to hear that.
The play Constellations closes the last show is this afternoon, and they have had seating available right at the end. And if you haven't seen it, it would really be worth seeing. The acting was fabulous, and I don't know which cast, but I saw both, and they were terrific, not to be missed if you have time.
I have a happier dog story. Could hardly tear myself away from watching Roland watch the puppy bowl this morning just go crazy.
Hi, this is Charlotte, and I want to thank everybody because you're so supportive when I had my operation, and I'm back to doing things like normal now. So it's good. Thank you.
I think instead of saying the unspoken joys and concerns that we don't say, I think we should say the unremembered joys and concerns, because I had one I was going to say this morning and I just don't remember what it is, so.
Oh, man.
Last night, Helena Music Teachers Association had our Celebrate Music recital, and my student who received a scholarship last spring to go to the University of Montana piano camp, she played Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach's Soffigetto in grand style. She's a junior this year and moving on, and this is just the beginning for her.
I just can't resist being born in San Francisco. Go Niners.
Oh.
One other thing. Yesterday I saw American Fiction, and I urge everybody to go see the best movie I've seen in years. It is so funny and so important.
I just want to say I'm glad to see Charlotte's back with us.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for sharing, and those who remain unspoken or forgotten. Not that we forgot you, the ones who forgot their joys or concerns. Okay, I'd like to take a moment for the offering, followed by thank you for your loving hands. And I think Sam is going to help us pass the offering plates. Thank you so much for your gifts this day and all the gifts of action that make this community possible. If you're visiting, please remain our guest, and your presence is your gift to us. Oh, Mara's coming too. Okay, I have a story for the children of all ages. Whoever wants to come, join me up here. And I know all of my kids are going to come. And this is one of my favorite children's stories, and I wanted to share it with you today. And I had to include the images for you to see on the overhead projector, especially since there is a bit about art in today's service. This is a beautiful artist, illustrated by Michaela Goad, and I hope I'm not pronouncing her last name incorrectly. But this is I Sang You Down from the Stars. Oh, welcome. Written by Tasha Spillett Summer. I guess I can turn it this way since everyone else can see up there. I sang you down from the stars. I loved you before I met you. Before I held you in my arms, I sang you down from the stars. As I searched for your eyes in the sky, I saw a shooting star. I followed it to fluffy white eagle plume. I held on to it, the first gift in a bundle that will be yours. Summer was fading into fall on the day I found out that you had chosen to make that you had chosen to make my body your first home. Together, we went to gather cedar and sage, medicines that will keep our spirits strong through the winter. When you are old enough, I will teach you how to use them. Into your bundle they go. As the north wind blew, you grew bigger and stronger. Waiting for you taught me about patience and love. With care in my hands, I sewed your first star blanket. With each stitch, I whispered a prayer for you and thought about wrapping you up warm and safe, just like you are now, in my belly. Into your bundle it goes. As the ice began to melt, we visited the river, where our people travel the waterways. The song of the rushing rapids calls us home. I picked up a small stone for you, so that you always remember to belong to this place. Into your bundle it goes. You arrived in the spring with the waters that come when the ice breaks and the rivers flow again. For the first time after our long wait, I looked down at you and found stars in your eyes. Our hearts danced together. I honored your journey from the sky by passing on the gifts I had gathered for you. This, my baby, is your sacred medicine bundle. First, I wrapped you in your star blanket and held you close to me. The fluffy plume I found when I was following the shooting star is the reminder that there is beauty all around us. We just have to look and see. Medicines of cedar and sage are for you to keep your spirit strong. When you hold this stone from the river, remember that the land carries stories, and so do you. Family and friends came from near and far to welcome you. One by one, they held you and greeted you. You brought them so much love and joy. I saw that you, my baby, are also a sacred bundle. You are my baby bundle. As I held you close, I whispered in your ear, I loved you before I met you. Before I held you in my arms, I sang you down from the stars. So I have a question for you guys before you go. Does anyone remember the days you were born? The day you were born? Lowen, you remember the day you were born? Tell me about it. I don't remember. What? born? No. You remember?
It was 27th in July 18th.
Yes, that was the day you were born. Yeah. And you know what? We don't remember the days we were born, mostly, but our mothers do. Our mothers try to remember those days. Or maybe they don't, or they try not to remember those days. But do you know that some Native American traditions believe that the babies choose their mothers, and they come down from the stars to a mother that they chose? Do you think you chose your mother? I don't know. Did you choose your mother? Yeah. It's kind of really special to think about it that way, I think. Okay, well, thank you for coming to read the story with us. So I wanted to share a brief little story. I'll try to say it fast and without crying about this story. The other day, Lowen was saying, "Where was I before I was in your belly?" Because he sees lots of pictures of him in my belly, and he likes to look at the video of him being born a lot. But he said, "Where was I before I was in your belly?" And I said, "Well, I don't really know. We don't know that much about that." And Jaspin, Lowen's the 3-year-old, Jaspin's the 6-year-old. Jaspin says, "Well, I know where Lowen was before he was in your belly." And I said, "Oh, you do?" And he said, "Well, yeah, don't you know that when someone dies, they wait in that place, that peaceful place, for about 3 years, and then once they're done resting, they decide to be someone else. And we just, don't you know that Daddy's mom, spiky-haired grandma, she decided to become Lowen to come and be with us in our life." So I was driving, and I'm like, what? And Lowen was born to us in December 2019. I found out I was pregnant with him, and it was a really challenging time of my life and my relationship with Ryan. And in my heart, I would speak to his mother a lot during that time, and I thought, if I could only speak with her. And I didn't know how crappy 2020 would be after that. And the universe gave me Lowen. So that helped me through that time. And he's still helping us. So I like to think that he's the spirit of spiky-haired grandma. Oh, I have to introduce the song. So we are going to sing together, and Open Your Hearts on page 16.
Standing beside you, we're not exactly strangers. Here I am standing beside you. I hardly know your name, and you reach out your hand. I put my hand in yours.
In your lifetime, you will make things that make your heart leap. Make that your art. Words by Jaya John, and the daughter, Drink This Water. All of my babies were born in the spring and the summer, so I was pregnant with all of them through the long, dark winter. Winter feels like a natural season for the gestational period. It's a time of quiet introspection, hibernation, and self-preservation. That winter sun that stays low in the sky, casting long shadows all day. The shadows that remind us of all the complexities of this life. The shadows that give our existence dimension and weight. Labor is a culmination of this period of turning inward. A dark and often lonely journey between two worlds, calling our babies from the stars. Let me first say, this message is not just for women or individuals who are or who have given birth. This message is for all of us. Each of us have found our first home in the womb of a mother and was brought into existence through her sweat and blood. In the cry of her birth song, she gave us life. All of us have been through the sacred journey of birth. It is the most transformative experience of our entire lives. And although we may not remember this moment, it has impacted the trajectory of our lives and the lives of our mothers. We carry it with us forever. In this talk, I will refer to birthing people as mothers and women, but it's important to acknowledge that not all birthing people identify as women or mothers. Their experiences are valid and they deserve our support. The love of birth has always been with me. The most memorable Christmas gift I received as a child was a plush, pregnant dog with a Velcro belly containing a mystery of litter puppies. My love for birth was likely influenced by the fundamentalist Christians I also grew up with. My elementary school days were surrounded by homeschooling families with their 6 to 10 children. They seemed to bask in the confident glow of God's will and the wondrous feats of motherhood that they had accomplished. To me, these mothers were the epitome of beauty and strength. They were the queens in my mind's fairy tales. But as I grew older, my affinity for birth was inspired by what I observed in the natural world. The beauty of reproduction in the earth around us, cycles of life and death unfolding, driven by instinct and survival. I sat on the edge of my seat in reproductive anatomy, comparing the miraculous functions of our bodies to the seeds that transform from a grain of sand into a beautiful flower or fruit. The animals that find shelter and birth and then immediately turn to nurture their life into their babies. The final push on my path to birth work was one vulnerable moment when a woman I lived with in college, mother of 6, offered to show me the video of her home birth of her youngest child. Captivated by her strength and the power of embodiment, I knew at that time there was one thing my life's work would be about. The first birth stories I heard were those of my mother and my grandmother. I was my mother's second born, and after a long and difficult labor with my older sister, she took her time getting to the hospital. But after getting stuck in horrendous Tampa metro traffic, she quickly realized she didn't have as much time as she thought. All primal instincts took over the moment she arrived at the hospital, and my mother, normally horrified of the germs on the arm rails of doctors' offices and public toilet seats, dropped to the hospital floor on her hands and knees. Unable to slow the life force of birth, my father was appalled and unsuccessfully tried to help her up, but I was born just moments later. Sheila Kitzinger, author, activist, and advocate, says, "The power of birth is like the strength of water cascading down the hillside, the power of seas and tides and mountains moving. There is no way of ignoring it. You cannot fight it." My grandmother gave birth during the twilight sleep era, one of the most devastating time periods in obstetric medicine. She was curious and a bold woman. When admitted to the hospital to deliver her youngest, with her 3 boys, all 18 months apart at home, she heard the labor cries of the woman next to her, and she stood on her bed, she confessed, to standing on her bed, to look over the privacy curtain, just to get a glimpse of what this mysterious birth process was. Moments later, her care team arrived, and off to sleep she went, before ever feeling a labor pain. She woke up later, alone, to a pink carnation on her bedside table, to let her know that after 3 boys, she gave birth to a girl, my mother. My fierce, uncontainable grandmother was put to sleep on her strongest, most triumphant day. I knew one thing when I listened to this story of my grandmother's. I wanted more than someone to announce the birth of my child with a pink or blue carnation. It's now 2024. I've been a birth worker for 10 years, and this year marks 10 years since I became a mother. In those years, I've been honored to stand alongside hundreds of women laboring and giving birth. I have rocked to their labor songs, sitting on stools in foggy bathrooms, steaming from hours of hot showers raining down on aching backs, tightening bellies, in the silent midnight while the rest of the world sleeps. The journey of birth is an underworld journey, often traveled in darkness with deep surrender. The labor song is a melody now written on my soul because of the vulnerability that these women have shared with me in their most sacred moments. I feel grateful to have given birth and to be a birth worker during this time in history. But after years of being in love with birth, the state of birth in our country's medical system is starting to take its toll. I wanted to empower women to find the inner strength of their capable bodies, but increasingly, I have found myself stuck in a system that seeks to control birth, undermining women's intuitive knowledge. Birth Disturbed, a history of birth in the US. Many of you are very familiar with this history. I'm here today to attempt to summarize it. But for most of human history, women gave birth in homes with other women, wisdom keepers. They relied on ancestral knowledge and intuitive wisdom observed from the world around us. Much of that changed in the past century. Like many parts of American history, the history of birth in America is dark, entangled in racism, misogyny, and the consequences of capitalism. Birth was taken out of the home into the hospital and medicalized. Intuition was replaced with fear-driven mindsets about the dangers and evils of childbirth. Twilight sleep was introduced in 1914, and women were given the opportunity to escape and forget any memory of their birth. Fathers were removed from births, and babies swept away to a nursery, rather than being welcomed earthside by their mothers and nurtured during those immensely important first hours of life. Giving birth at the hospital became a status symbol, and it also became a very profitable business. Meanwhile, traditional midwives, mostly indigenous and African women, were banned, and formalized education for nurse midwives emerged in the 1920s. Although people of color were initially denied this education, further disabling their ability to practice legally. Generations of ancestral wisdom lost. The impact of this is still with us today. Less than 5% of all midwives in the US are people of color. I also believe the impact is seen in the disparity of people of color giving birth today. According to the CDC, Black women die giving birth 3 times more often than white women. This is the widest racial disparity in women's health. But trends shifted towards reducing the fear of birth through education and self-advocacy during the women's rights movements in the 70s. More women insisted on their partners being present with them during birth, and there were more options for pain management with less disruptive effects. And birthing at home was revived, thanks to outspoken leaders in midwifery, like Ina May Gaskins. Controlled birth, where are we now? Despite all of this apparent progress since the late 1980s, we have seen no improvement in birth outcomes. In fact, there has been a maternal mortality crisis. Just in my lifetime, the maternal mortality rate has more than quadrupled. 45% of women currently report having a traumatic birth experience. Despite being one of the most capable medical systems in the world, we still have the most devastating outcomes among developed nations. Becky is going to flip to the next slide. I just want to show you really quickly. This is not about statistics or data, but I just want to give you one quick visual, 4 quick visuals. And again, this data is complex and really hard to track, but this is one example. This is maternal mortality rates in selected countries, and this is only since 2018. There you see The U.S. is, in 2018, the maternal mortality rate was 17.4, and you see most developed countries in Europe are in the single digits, low single digits there in the front, you see. And if you flip to the next, Becky. And this, since that data only went up to 2018, but since 2018, you can see the blue, green, burgundy, and lavender columns are 2018, 19, 20, and 21. The maternal mortality rate has increased since 2018 at 17.4 to 32.9 in 2021. And I'm sure the events of 2020 impacted that greatly. But in the center column is non-Hispanic Black women and birthing individuals at a rate of 69, maternal mortality rate of 69.9 in 2021. And then you can go to the next slide. I'll speak about that in a moment. But maybe this is because birth is still being controlled by systems instead of the birthing people themselves. Maybe it's because we still view birth as a medical event rather than a natural process. Maybe it is because culturally and systemically, we still view the female body as flawed and broken, in need of fixing. Maybe it's because we've traded the agency of caring for the health and well-being of our own bodies for the convenience and apparent safety of medical management. Maybe it's because we replaced the wisdom keepers that originally intended births with one-size-fits-all interventions in medicine. Again, the complexity of these issues is immense, and I'm not here to say that I have answers or solutions, but there are alternatives. While US birth outcomes have been in decline, they are improving in virtually every other developed nation. The common factors of these nations are socialized medicine, increased support for young families in the form of paid maternal and paternal leave, perinatal home visiting, and increased ratios of care providers, especially midwives for birthing people. This is what empowerment looks like. So this graph is the weeks of paid maternity leave federally mandated. The US is 0, and up to Norway has 91 hours for maternity leave. And you see every other country is offering maternity leave. Again, I know this isn't completely new information to all of you, but you can flip to the next slide. Oh, sorry, weeks. I was discussing this with Brian and I kept saying hours. It's weeks. My brain thinks about hours, but yeah, weeks. This is also a really interesting graph that I found, and this is kind of newer information to me in that this is the maternal care workforce. So what you see here is the amount of OBGYNs and midwives per 1,000 live births. So in the US, we have a total average of 15 care providers per 1,000 live births. 11 of those are OBGYNs, 4 of those are midwives. But if you see all the way to the maximum end in Australia and Sweden, they have up to 78 providers for 1,000 live births. So, and 66 of those are midwives, trained to empower women and care for women in this natural process. And I think what I see here from my mindset is this is how we empower women. We have the time to care for them. We have 45-minute to an hour prenatal appointments that are about supporting them and educating them and teaching them how to care for their own health and their own body, and not necessarily taking over because that's only, we can only manage that because we're trying to manage so much at one time. So that's where the control comes in. So I come to you with a lot of grief today. Preparing for this message put words and figures to much of the weight I've been carrying for these past few years. But I also have great hope because I believe that the generation that is coming behind me and the generation after that is asking for more. I see them taking charge of the health and well-being of their own bodies and growing comfortable in their own skin. In my experience, there is a direct correlation in the woman's agency in her own birth process to her satisfaction and birth outcomes. culture shifts through the creation of art. So, I ended up taking a step back from nursing at the hospital this fall. Someone once told me the cure to burnout is first, take a step back if you can, and two, find a creative outlet to remind you of the work that you love. And thank God I had both of those things. I started to come along opportunities to photograph birth, and I started falling in love all over again, capturing those sacred moments in their most raw and candid form, creating images of beautiful and strong female bodies discovering their greatest capabilities is re-energizing my capacity for advocacy in a way that I never imagined. In stepping back, I saw the light illuminated among the shadows all over again, the inner strength of humanity that we all hold. But I'm only one person. Even more, I believe the increasing presence of birth images is re-energizing self-advocacy and personal agency among birthing people all over the world. I believe one of the greatest ways to heal the ailment of lies that portray female bodies as broken and flawed is to dismantle them with works of art demonstrating the beautiful and sacred masterpieces that they are. We're just going to have a moment of silent meditation. I'll close with this. This is a continuation from the writing from Sarah Blondin. Slowly we move away from the well-rutted roads of our inherited pain, and we let the old limbs of the tree die. We reach, notched with bud, toward the light. The biggest lie we've been told is that we don't have the power or abilities to shift. The biggest lie we've been told is that we must continue down this road that hurts our bodies, our minds, and our hearts. The biggest lie we've been told is to keep our head looking down instead of tilting our face toward the sun. We have a few moments for reflection.
Hi, I'm Carrie Fairbrother, and I used to help Britany teach prenatal classes. I don't even know how many years, many, many, many years at St. Pete's. And that was one of our goals, was of course to give women the information they needed so they could be their own advocates. One question I have though, and not to be, obviously all of us who are working are very thoughtful about the differences in different countries and cultures, but our age of the average new first-time mom has increased beyond substantially. Like when I started, might have one person who was 40 or 41 in a whole class. And now I'd say more than half, maybe 3/4 of my patients were what they would be called, and they hated that word, elderly pregnant women. and they would be geriatric over 35, which is, we would laugh, but it wasn't funny. But also, with not having enough time with each patient, that's what you're really getting at, or each person that you're meeting with, you can't possibly know how to help them. And our family member almost died of what's called HELLP, H-E-L-L-P, and she would have died if she wasn't her own best advocate. And the only reason I knew of this rare condition was this study about a black OB who died because her OB, and you're very vulnerable, you listen to whoever's teaching you at that point, told her to go home and rest, and she went home and died. And my niece would have gone home and died. I'm so proud of her, except that she said, I really don't feel well. And she uttered the words that she didn't feel the baby moving. And within 10 minutes of a blood test, she was having a C-section. And it was not for the baby, it was for the mom. So really, the time is the essence. And whether it's with an OB or a midwife, or a nurse, it's like people don't get any time. Nobody's looking at them. They're typing into a computer. They're not even looking into the eyes of the client. And this is across medicine completely. So I agree with you.
Yeah, and there are many factors, but that is a significant factor. And Ryan can tell you that I cut my message in quarters before I came to you because I just had a lot of information I wanted to share. But that is a big piece. And older women do account for a large increase, but not. Yeah, that is an interesting. It is an interesting question too. Thoughts?
I have, I guess, two thoughts that came to mind. Many years ago, in the early 2000s, I lived in Vermont, and my neighbor was a writer named Chris Bogelian, and he wrote a really amazing book called Midwives. And if you haven't read it, you should. It's an incredible story about a midwife, and it's based on a true story, who was charged with murder because she attended a birth where the mother passed away. And so and the fact that it was written by a male was interesting, but he's a very interesting person as well. And then the second piece that I was thinking about was we all have, if we've birthed, we have interesting birth stories, but I've always felt like my birth with my daughter Nadia was particularly interesting because I had a planned cesarean, and I remember going in and they had given me the epidural, and I couldn't breathe, and I was having trouble breathing, and the nurse said to me in that room, you know, if you're talking, you're breathing, so just keep talking. And I couldn't think of anything to say, and my husband's trying to like talk to me, and I'm telling him to shut up because I can't think. So the only thing I knew to do was to sing, and I sang for 45 minutes through the whole cesarean. And I don't remember too much about it, but I do remember singing. I remember afterwards my throat being really sore. And the nurse midwife, the obstetric nurse, came in later, and she was like, you know, I've been an OBGYN nurse for 30 plus years, and I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen somebody sing through their entire birth. And and you probably have picked up that my daughter is a singer. And I think every time she sings, she's remembering her birth.
Thank you for sharing. That was really touching.
Thank you, Brittany. That was enlightening. I was really lucky to have had a home birth way back then with the wisdom of a great midwife and my many women friends. And there were things that were so peaceful and beautiful about it. There was a lot of laughter. There was a lot of support. And one of the best things I remember is the cord didn't need to be cut immediately. So I held my baby and let all that blood come into him. And my two stepdaughters who did the scientific births both had horrible experiences, felt alone, and just get through it rather than, I actually had fun. I mean, labor, of course, is not fun, but my whole birth experience was fun. So I'm grateful for the wisdom of women.
Oh, thank you for sharing too, Valerie. Delayed cord clamping is one thing that we are bringing back, and we're realizing this is really helpful for babies, for us to delay cord clamping. And so after years and years of immediately cutting and clamping the umbilical cord, we are realizing we can let it pulse and let the baby can get the rest of that blood that is their blood from their placenta. So it's very helpful for them.
Courtney, can you tell us a little bit about the art projects that you? I mean, excuse me. I'm sorry. No. Brittany, about the art projects that you've begun.
Well, I started photographing women's births if they want that to be done. It actually came from, I initially was asked in a situation where a woman had lost their babies. We traditionally try to photograph their fetal demise or their stillborn so that they have images to carry with them when they go home without their babies. So I had been just doing photography on the side and taking, posed photos of people because they asked me to do that and I thought it was kind of fun. And so then people at the hospital started asking me to take pictures of these fetal losses, and that's kind of where I got the title Shadow and Light from, because I started seeing these moments of the shadows where it was just so heartbreaking, but yet so beautiful, in that these women are still mothers and caring for this baby in their womb that they lost. And so I started taking birth images in that way through loss. And then I thought, as my patients were struggling in labor and their eyes were closed and they were missing all of the beautiful miracles that were happening around them, they were missing their partners that were loving for them and caring for them. It's so much to take in that moment of intensity. I started saying, are you okay if I grab your phone and take pictures of you? Because you're so beautiful. And so I just started, when I had time, I just grabbed people's phones and I started taking pictures of them, because I'm like, I want them to see how beautiful they are. They feel so insecure in this moment, but yet they're so amazing. This is a miracle. And so I just started, every time I had the chance, if I was the charge nurse, I would just go into as many births as I could and take pictures for people. If they were in the C-section and they had general anesthesia and their partner couldn't come, I would just take as many pictures as I could. And then I thought, well, I saw a course that instructed people on birth photography, and so I took the course, and so now I'm offering that to other people. And I was called into a home birth yesterday in Butte, and luckily the streets were dry, and I got to take images for her, and it was just beautiful and wonderful, and I feel honored to be there in a different creative space now. Yeah. We're probably running out of time. We have about 5 minutes left. So continue the discussions over coffee. We are having our closing hymn, Come Sing a Song With Me. This is Singing the Living Tradition, page 346. The blue.
Sing a
We're going to extinguish the chalice. And we can read this all together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please refer to your bulletin for announcements as we are out of time. We're going to end the recording now for the YouTube service. And if there's anyone would like to mention